The unexpected invitation. Daniel hadn't been home since the fall of 2019. 5 years, 2 city moves, 1 heartbreak, and 0 returned calls later. He still wasn't sure why he'd said yes to his sister's invitation that year. Maybe because he was tired of pretending he was okay. Or maybe, just maybe, it was finally time to face the past, even if it hurt. The invitation came in a text. "This time will be different, I promise. Mom's gonna love seeing you. And Alex wants you to meet his brother. It's just Thanksgiving, not the end of the world." His sister's fiancé's brother. Daniel read that line twice, maybe 3 times. Didn't think much of it. He said yes. Deep down, he thought he was too numb to care anyway. The drive was long. From Boston to small-town Pennsylvania, he had hours to rehearse answers, revisit ghosts, and come up with an exit plan, just in case things went sideways. But nothing could have prepared him for what he saw when he stepped through the front door of his childhood home, Evan. Standing right there, next to his sister's fiancé. Same crooked smile, just more held back now. More grown up. Wearing a deep burgundy shirt, sleeves rolled up, with that same effortless way he always had of filling a room. Evan. The Evan he'd spent 4 years of his life with, and a heartbreak he never fully healed from. The Evan who disappeared without a real goodbye. Who he tried to forget in other beds and cold silences. Who he swore he never wanted to see again. And there he was, in his mother's house, pouring wine, laughing softly with the uncles, part of the family. Daniel felt the world tilt for a second. "Danny!" his sister shouted, rushing in for a hug. "I'm so glad you came. Everyone's been waiting." He hugged her back, took a deep breath, swallowed everything. "Of course, it's just Thanksgiving, right?" That night, Daniel went up to his old bedroom and closed the door slowly. The smell of wood, the worn-out quilt, the dim hallway, everything felt the same. But he didn't. He sat on the bed and laughed dryly. His sister's fiancé's brother, of course. How did he not see it coming? Evan. The last person on earth he expected to run into again. And now here he was, eating pumpkin pie in the same kitchen where they'd shared their first kiss. Like, the past was just some small footnote. But Daniel knew better. This wasn't a coincidence. This was a silences at the dinner table. Thanksgiving dinner had always been a kind of beautiful chaos in Daniel's family. People talking over each other, kids running around, dishes being passed from hand to hand, and laughter that was always just a bit too loud. But that year, it felt different. More restrained, like everyone was walking on eggshells, or rather, like everyone already knew. Daniel sat between his aunt and his grandmother, directly across from Evan. There was no avoiding it. They kept dodging each other's gaze, but every now and then, their eyes would meet in a moment of careless timing. One passing the mashed potatoes, the other refilling a glass of wine. Everything so polite, so proper, and deeply uncomfortable. Daniel's mother, as sweet as ever, tried to keep the conversation flowing. She asked about work, about life, in Boston, about how he'd gotten so skinny. But every question felt like tugging at a thread he'd spent years trying not to unravel. It was Alex, his sister's fiancé, who finally tried to lighten the mood. "We could play that game after dinner, you know, the question one. What was it called, Liz?" "Never have I ever," she said, laughing. "It's kind of a holiday tradition now. Way more fun with wine." Daniel froze. The last time they played that game, he and Evan were still together. It was at a friend's dinner party. One of the questions had exposed a secret that sparked a fight that never really got resolved. I'm down, Evan said, locking eyes with Daniel for the first time. A little truth never hurts, right? Daniel gave a tight, guarded smile. Depends on what kind of truth we're talking about. That was it. Dinner had officially become a battlefield. The truth game begins after dessert. Everyone gathered in the living room. The lights were dim, the wine was setting in, and the mood, at least on the surface, felt light. But Daniel could feel it building beneath the surface, like a storm creeping closer. The game started off harmless. Never have I ever stolen food from someone's Thanksgiving plate, Liz said. Laughter. Glasses raised. Silly little confessions. Then Evan spoke up. Never have I ever regretted breaking up with someone and not telling them why. Silence. Daniel didn't lift his glass, but he looked straight at him. Evan stared back, unblinking. Everyone noticed. No one said a word. The game moved on, but the vibe had shifted. The questions started hitting closer to home. The laughter sounded more strained. Then Daniel said, "Never have I ever been left in the dark by someone who once swore they loved me." This time he didn't look away, and neither did Evan. Daniel's mom pretended to adjust the tablecloth. Alex cleared his throat. Liz changed the subject. But the truth, the real truth. The porch conversation later that night, when the house had mostly quieted down, Daniel stepped out onto the porch. The cold air hit his face, and he welcomed it. He needed to cool off. It didn't take long before he heard footsteps behind him. "Evan, mind if I join you?" Daniel gave a small nod. They stood side by side in silence for what felt like forever. Evan broke it first. "I didn't know you were coming. I didn't know you were basically part of the family." "Now," Evan let out a dry laugh. "Seems like we always run into each other at the wrong time, huh?" Daniel looked over at him. "Was it the wrong time for you?" Silence. "No, it was all right. I was the one who messed it up. That last time, I didn't know how to tell you my dad was sick, that I had to move back home, that I didn't know how to handle it all." Daniel swallowed hard. "So you left, and made me think I was the reason." Evan looked at him. "It was never you. I think about you every time I hear that Bon Iver song. I just didn't know if you'd still want to hear from me." Daniel exhaled slowly. "I'm still here, aren't I?" For a moment it was just the two of them. 2 deep breaths. A silence that no longer hurt. Evan reached for his hand. Daniel didn't pull away. The morning after. The next morning, sunlight slipped gently through the cracks of the old bedroom window, softly touching the memories Daniel had left behind. The sound of footsteps from the kitchen mixed with the smell of fresh coffee and butter, sizzling in the pan. For the first time in a long while, the house felt calm, as if it had finally exhaled overnight. Daniel walked downstairs, his mind full and his heart odd. It didn't hurt, but it wasn't exactly peace either. It was something else. Maybe relief. In the kitchen, Evan was making pancakes, wearing a plain t-shirt, hair a little messy, and that shy smile Daniel remembered so well. "Morning. Pancakes are ready, just the way you like them," Evan said, stacking golden rounds on a plate. Daniel grabbed a mug, sat down at the table, and watched for a few seconds. "I'd forgotten what it felt like to see you like this. Just real." "Me too," Evan replied. "We faked so many things, didn't we? We even faked that it was over." The silence that followed wasn't tense. It was familiar. Easy. "So now what?" Evan asked. Daniel looked up. "Now, I think maybe we try again, but this time for real." Evan smiled. Is this a beginning? Yeah, or a restart. Maybe it never really ended. They ate together in silence, shared coffee, pancakes, and a feeling that didn't quite have a name, but felt good. Later, by the front door, Evan held Daniel's hand just a moment longer. Can we talk again sometime? Now I know where to find you. A kiss on the cheek, a lingering touch, one last look. Daniel got in the car with a heart that felt lighter. Maybe, after all, that really had been the last supper with the past, and the first day of everything. Mels, if this story touched you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this aren't just about love. They're about what's possible when we choose to listen, forgive, and begin again.